My guest is Stacy Pelletier. Stacy is a registered dietitian and a nutrition counselor here at Gifford. She's been here since 2007. And if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Please give the video a like and subscribe to our Gifford YouTube channel. On the YouTube channel, not only do you get these podcasts, but we post important information, messages from Gifford's leadership team, and feature stories. You can also check out giffordhealthcare.org for the very latest information on our COVID-19 testing, vaccination clinics, and visitor policy. You can check out the services we provide, from our birthing center to primary care, specialty clinics, and our senior living communities. We also have several positions available in a number of departments. So go to our careers page on the website. We are hiring everything from clinical to the kitchen. GiffordHealthcare.org. Stacy, thank you for being here.
Oh, no problem. Good to see you, Scott.
Well, we wanted to have you on this month because we're right in the middle of the holiday season. We're coming off Thanksgiving, and I'm sure there are many of us out there, including me, who may have overdone it a bit at the dinner table. And in the coming weeks, there's just going to be more opportunities to overdo it with meals and desserts. And so, if you're like me today, maybe you're feeling a little bad that you kind of overdid it. Maybe there's a few other people out there like that. Should we be feeling bad maybe if we overdid it at Thanksgiving?
Definitely not. The holidays are meant to be enjoyed, and it's not what we do one day a year that really matters for our overall health. It's just kind of getting back on track and eating well again.
So before we get into the coming weeks and what we should look out for, and some tips and some ideas to maybe keep in mind as we get back to the dinner table and see all those desserts and treats, we want to talk about you. And you have such a long career here at Gifford, 14 years. How did you first hear about Gifford? What made you want to come aboard, and what's kept you here so long?
So it's interesting. I actually I did grow up in Vermont. I grew up over in Brandon, but I didn't know anything about Gifford growing up. And I went away to college out of state, and I really missed Vermont. So I moved back home, and I was just looking for jobs, and a job at Gifford came up in my search. So I came over here, interviewed. I fell in love with the town the day I came over. I loved the little movie theater in town. I loved the community feel that was at Gifford. So I loved it right from the moment I saw it.
And what is it about the opportunities that Gifford provides that really kind of led to that, where you fell in love with the place and the community itself?
I had worked at some other places that were quite large, and you're kind of just a number at those places. And I felt like here it was a true family. You knew what was going on in your coworkers' lives. And then when I started working with patients, I just enjoyed that I really felt like I was serving my literal next door neighbors when I was here, as that community feel, and just being part of that is really, really special. So.
Nutrition and that you wanted to explore.
What I really also liked coming to Gifford was because I was fairly new out of school at the time. Gifford allowed me to do a variety of things because we're small. The dietitian covered both the outpatient setting and the inpatient setting, and also the nursing home setting. So it allowed me to kind of get some good experience in a variety of different settings to find out what I really, really enjoyed. So.
Was there something in particular growing up, or just where nutrition kind of struck a chord with you? Being a dietitian, is there something that had happened? How did you get that interest?
Well, I was always involved in sports a lot in high school and in college, and eating is just such a big part of feeling well and performing well that kind of sparked my interest.
And as you've come along in that career, I'm sure there's many things that you've kind of picked up and learned yourself that you just didn't know? I mean, what's some of the things that even took you by surprise getting into this field that you came across?
Oh my gosh, so much. What's really fun about nutrition is it's sort of continues to be like an evolving science. So there's sort of new information all the time. And luckily it's one of those things that a lot of people are interested in, and therefore a lot of research has been going into. So I'm pretty much learning almost every single day, really. So
When people think about nutrition and being a dietitian, a lot of people just think, well, they'll just put you on a strict regimen, strict diet of certain foods to eat. And but really, what is it? I mean, when your job, when people come in, what are you doing? How are you working with them?
it's very individualized. So usually we sit down and we kind of see, where are they at right now? And what are their ultimate goals? Is it to lose weight? Is it to feel better? Is it to get rid of abdominal pain or improve abdominal pain, or what it is? So we always just start there. Again, kind of see where they're at, see what our end goal is, and then work together with them to get to that end goal.
And this is, like you said, I mean, this could be a wide range of, from people looking to lower their cholesterol, to people trying to lose weight, to people who are just not getting enough energy
Right,
during the
right.
day, right?
Yes, yeah. All of those things.
So for, I guess, different people, obviously, like you said, it's an individualized care, but you have taken a real particular interest in working with our aging population and helping them. We were up at our Strode Independent Living Facility just a couple of weeks ago to speak with them. Where did that interest come in wanting to work with our aging population?
I guess I would say I was lucky. I had really amazing grandparents, and I just always enjoyed that more, that geriatric age group. They just have a lot of life experience. I just find it very interesting working with them and talking with them, and they make me laugh, they make me smile. I just really enjoy that age group. So
When you're giving one of those talks, what are you saying?
a lot of times with our aging population, we're trying to figure out how to, basically maximize quality of life. So whether that's they're looking to have more energy, they're sometimes maybe looking to put some weight on, they might be looking, there can be some taste changes as we age, so they might be looking for how to make food taste better, all those different things.
And do you find that they're, because in that population especially, you see some more issues kind of pop up here and there. Do you find that working with them, they're able to work with you and they follow things well? Because I mean, it is their health that's really in the forefront.
Yeah, I think as long as we are kind of both going towards the same goal, they do well, definitely. So
So let's talk about this upcoming holiday season. We're like I said, we're in the middle of it, and a lot of us are, just indulging maybe a little too much, but enjoying friends and family, something we haven't been able to do in a bit. So, what is some keys to remember this season as we're going out and seeing people and seeing all different types of food and delicious meals and desserts and stuff?
yes, it's so exciting to be able to get together with friends and family again. So I'd say number one is to enjoy that time with friends and family. So it's definitely been a while. So, for people who are trying to lose weight, I always tell people if you just focus on maintaining during the holidays and to not stress out about that. But there certainly is food everywhere around the holidays, which is wonderful. But if you're trying to kind of stick with your healthy meal plan, it can be almost stressful. So I usually recommend that people just focus on portion sizes, using, smaller plates, or even like just a napkin or something when you're kind of at like these buffet style gatherings. If you're hosting, I recommend, sending food home with people, so that you don't have quite so many leftovers to get through on your own. If you're going to a holiday gathering, bring a healthy dish. That way, that there's something there that you can have that's good for you too. I usually recommend not skipping meals that day. So not arriving super famished or anything like that. Even having a little healthy snack before you go. Things like that. So
It's amazing what a smaller plate will do. I mean, we tried that. I did that on Thanksgiving this year, even though I said I indulged a little too much, but still I use a smaller plate, and it really does help. And I did one scoop, of everything, and that was all I did. And you save room for dessert that way too. You don't get too filled up, and it seemed to work just fine. So some of these, you don't think about it, but they're very helpful.
yeah. And as too, if you can stay more than an arm's reach away from the buffet line, that can be helpful too.
Another thing that you talked about is a myth, well, I haven't eaten all day because I wanted to make room for the big meal, but you're not really supposed to do that. Like you still keep on your
Right.
you keep on your regular eating schedule, because you're doing more harm than good when you starve yourself that way.
That's right. Yeah, you're going
Why
to tend
is
to
that?
eat a lot more.
Yeah, and so
Usually if you arrive really hungry, you're going to typically kind of eat 2 or 3 times what you would otherwise.
when you're not eating, the body, you never want to, if this is right, you never want to have hunger pains, right? You never want, the body should never have to feel hungry.
Right. And you don't want to feel overly full either. You kind of want to listen to your body, eat when you get a little bit hungry. And then when you're comfortably just a little bit full, kind of stop then.
We did that with the leftovers. We got as many leftovers as we could out of the house, and we tried not to make as much food. It's always one thing that just lasts and lasts and lasts. And for us this year, it's stuffing, like the worst food that you can have to last. I mean, its name is what you do. You're stuffing. I mean,
right. It's always the first food gone in my house.
Really. And for us, we made way too much of it this year, but we even gave some away. We still have 3 containers full of it.
Wow.
But I think after a while you get sick of it anyway, right? I mean, leftovers, first of all, they don't last. You really don't want them to last too long anyway. And after a few days of eating the same stuff, you probably want to switch anyway.
Yeah. And sometimes I tell people kind of make little meals out of it and just stick them in the freezer for a few weeks later when you're not so sick of those foods. Just portion them out, have them later.
Turkey soup.
That's right.
A lot of people freeze turkey. Yeah, turkey pot pie, and just make it different. If you do something different with it, you can. So, but what are some problem foods to avoid? I mean, you talk about enjoy it, but there are some foods out there. If you have high cholesterol, or your bad cholesterol is bad, or you've heart problems that you want to look out for. I mean, you probably don't want to eat everything that's out there. What are some of the things that maybe if you see it there, you should try to avoid it if you're looking to stay away from the heart problems, the cholesterol problems?
Yeah, I mean, I would say anything could fit in like moderation. So you kind of think about like the pies and cakes and stuff like that. With those, I tell people to just have a small little sliver, just a couple of bites, just so you don't feel overly restricted. But certainly, with like turkey, we recommend sticking with the white meat over the dark meat, avoiding the skin. With gravy, I tell people once you refrigerate it, when you take it back out, all that white stuff on the top, to just scoop that off. That's sort of that unhealthy fat. So things like that.
And so what happens when you're at the office and, people are dropping off, people bring in cookies, people bringing in candies, and they're dropping, and you have no choice, and they offer it to you. How do you handle those situations? Because you could gain 10, 15 pounds just alone on what other people you work with are bringing into the office.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would just talk with people, just explain, that you're watching your weight or you're trying to lower your cholesterol, and just, it's okay to say no, thank you. And also keeping things out of sight, out of mind. So if there's another place where you work, where you can keep some of those things so it's not sitting right next to your desk. And making sure that you have alternatives too, so that you're packing, maybe cut up fruits and veggies and things like that, so you have something to munch on instead.
That's a good idea. You bring some snacks with you, and then you're not going to be too tempted.
That's right. Yeah.
What are some other tips or tricks that you might have for people, if there is anything about, just kind of watching what you intake?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on too, like if you're doing a lot of the cooking, you can make a lot of substitutions in your recipes without really affecting the taste very much. In your baked goods, oil or butter or shortening, we usually tell people replace half of it with, applesauce or mashed bananas or something like that. And it tends to, you keep the texture and the taste, but you cut out a lot of the stuff you don't need. Or just switching to lower fat, cream cheese or sour cream, lower fat milk, those kinds of things. Make things taste about the same, but lower your intake of calories and unhealthy fats.
Started to make ice cream using frozen bananas as your base.
Yes.
That seems to work really well.
Yep. Yeah.
Substitutes, sugar substitutes, salt substitutes. I think I've heard with sugar substitutes, some people can't digest very well. Salt substitutes aren't great for certain parts of your body, organ wise. Is that true?
It depends on what you're using. Like with a salt substitute, the best thing to substitute for salt is really different herbs. Even if you can use fresh herbs, like rosemary and cilantro and all those kinds of things. But even like dry herb seasonings like a Mrs. Dash or something like that you could use. The salt substitutes, there are a few that contain potassium instead of sodium. So people with problems with their kidneys will just want to double check with their doctor if those are okay.
So when you're, in general, if we're getting out of the holiday season, when we're talking in general, and we talked about how you work with people, how much do you incorporate exercise into the nutrition aspect of it? Obviously you're a dietitian, you're telling people, here's setting up meal plans, doing the best, that aspect of it. Do you go into exercise at all?
Definitely. So exercise is so important for appetite management, stress management, all those different things. And whether you're trying to lose weight or not, it really doesn't matter. Exercise is so important for that mental health piece, just kind of keeping you on track, sleeping well, all those things for just general health. So
yeah, if you had a good, if you had a good Thanksgiving football game with the family before the dinner, that probably helps justify having a big meal a little bit later in the afternoon.
Yeah, and kind of make exercise sort of a family tradition. So maybe you all go for a walk after the meal or something like that. So
I mean, we drink a lot of eggnog this time of year. There's other alcoholic drinks, there's milk, but I think, water is, there's not much to it, but it can really help if you drink it right before, a half hour before a meal. It helps fill you up. Is that true too?
Definitely, that's very, very helpful for people. And a lot of times I tell people to bring water with them when they go to these family gatherings. So that you make
especially
sure
if you're gonna have salt, and if there's salt in the meals and stuff, you want to make sure you drink plenty of water.
Definitely. Yep.
How does water play in all of our dietary needs and nutritional needs?
Very important. Most of our body is made up of water. As we age, especially, it's difficult for us to differentiate between thirst and hunger. So a lot of times we kind of feel like we want something and we think we want food, but it's oftentimes that we're just a little bit dehydrated. So making sure we drink before our meals and snacks, very helpful.
People say, oh, dietitian, they're just going to get me off of meat. It's just going to be a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet. What's your take on and that's not true, obviously, but what's your take on the vegetarian diet, a vegan diet? Some people, New Year's Eve will roll around, they'll make their resolutions and say, I'm cutting out meat, or I'm cutting out red meat, or I'm just eating fish. What about that?
I usually encourage people to make kind of small New Year's resolutions. A lot of times, especially around the holidays, if just the anticipation of restriction coming up can really lead people to overeat. So I usually tell people when thinking about those New Year's resolutions to just set small, more realistic goals and try to work on changing one thing at a time. So usually people aren't as successful with really large, dramatic goals. So
if someone does switch to a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet, is there studies that show that, you will feel a little bit healthier, you will have more energy? Is there anything to that?
We definitely know that plant-based diets, so diets that contain mostly non-animal products, are very nutritious because they contain a lot of fruits and vegetables. So I guess it depends why someone wants to adopt a plant-based diet. Sometimes it's for health reasons, sometimes it's for environmental reasons. So I guess it depends on what the client's goal is. So if they really like animal products and they're cutting them out because they feel like they should for their health, then I would try to work with them to see if we could still fit in some animal products that are a little lower in fat, that can still fit into like a heart healthy diet. So
one of the other tricks I've read about or learned was eating early, having early dinner, not eating so close to bedtime. How about that?
Yeah, that can be definitely helpful, especially if someone struggles at all with like acid reflux or anything like that at night. Also, it tends to be what we eat after 7 o'clock or so at night tends to be stuff we just kind of don't need. We tend not to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables after 7. We tend to more eat candy and chips and ice cream. So sometimes giving ourselves a cutoff time is helpful, so that we avoid some of that kind of mindless snacking while we watch TV.
If you are going to snack, then make sure it's something healthier, vegetables or something like that. Yeah. So, as we kind of wrap up here, Stacy, we've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything that you particularly look at as a good tip to keep in mind? I mean, I know we've talked about some other stuff here, kind of along those lines, but is there anything that we've kind of missed that, maybe is a good thing to keep in mind?
I would say don't be too hard on yourself. Kind of remember that the holiday is one day. That negative self-talk just won't be helpful, and kind of just get right back on track the next day. And just learn from your past. A lot of times people think they're failing, and really those things are just learning opportunities so that you can keep improving the process moving forward. So definitely don't be too hard on yourselves.
Well, Stacy, you gave us some great tips today and some things to look out for. And so it's much appreciated. And I think we can, knowing in the back of your mind that it is the holidays and you can enjoy for a little bit, because it's only, 1 or 2 times a year. And then that way you don't feel too guilty and you can just kind of correct yourself moving forward. And then once you make those resolutions, don't go from one extreme to the other.
Yes, definitely.
Well, Stacy Pelletier, thank you so much for joining us today on the Gifford Provider podcast. And we hope everybody out there takes these tips and takes them to heart, no pun intended. And, we will have a complete written blog of our interview here with the video on our website, giffordhealthcare.org. Stacy, thanks so much for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of the holiday season. Happy New Year.
You're welcome. Happy holidays.